Hello, welcome to Dungeon Drawers Podcast. I'm your host, Justin. For Fantasy Month, we're reviewing the 1996 fantasy adventure movie, Dragonheart, starring Dennis Quaid as Bowen, David Thewlis as Einon, uh, Brother Gilbert as Pete Postlethwaite, Kara as, Dina Meyer as Kara. Dina Meyer was the last movie we reviewed that had Dina Meyer in it was The Evil Within 2017, which if you haven't seen that movie, check it out. It's on YouTube for free. You got Jason Isaacs as Felton, Brian Thompson as Brock, and you have Sean Connery as the Dragon Draco, which is completely CGI, and the the CGI is pretty. I mean, it was good for the time, but by today's standards, it's pretty bad. Yeah, especially when it's like, most of the time you see the dragon is during the daytime, where it's like bad CGI should always be covered in like at night because night shot CGI looks a lot better with night shots, for people who didn't know that. Yeah, so I honestly did not like this movie that much, but then again, let me check the rating because it had this like family friendly. It's like rated PG, so this is like a family friendly fantasy movie. What the story is about is basically you have this knight named Bowen, who's played by Dennis Quaid, who does an American accent. Dina Meyer tries to do a British accent, I think, but yeah, Dennis Quaid is pretty much just doing his American accent. Though sometimes it sounds kind of like he's doing some kind of accent. I don't fucking know. But he's a knight of the old code. The old code being the code of King Arthur. They talk about King Arthur and the Knights of the Round Table several times during the movie. He was the teacher and protector of the Prince Einon, whose father went to quell a peasant rebellion and ends up getting killed in the most retarded way, where it's like he's fighting the peasants on horseback, and like he has no king's guard, no knights around to protect him. So he ends up getting cut off by the peasants and killed. And what ends up happening is Einon sees this, goes not to save his father, to steal his crown from his dying body, and ends up getting accidentally mortally wounded by Kara, played by Dina Meyer. Though this was 12 years prior, so they're played by different actors at this point. And what ends up happening is Dennis Quaid as Bowen rescues Einon, takes him to his mother, who takes Einon to a dragon. The dragon being Draco, and Draco saves Einon by sharing his life force with him, right? Hence why the movie is called Dragonheart, because they share like the same heart basically. If anything happens to Einon, the dragon feels it, and vice versa. So obviously what's going to happen at the end of the movie. So you get 12 years past, like Einon, who swore that he would not be a tyrant like his dad, basically was like, fuck that, and is basically like this huge asshole that nobody likes. Bowen blames Draco for what happened, so he becomes like a dragon slayer. For the last 12 years, he's been going around killing dragons. You see him fight a dragon off screen, which was like, oh my god. And then that's where you get introduced by Brother Gilbert, played by Pete Postlethwaite, who you'll know him from movies like um, Usual Suspects. He played not Kaiser Soze, Kobayashi. He played Kobayashi in Usual Suspects. He was also in the movie, which I really like this movie, but a lot of people hate. Romeo and Juliet, 1997, the one with Leonardo DiCaprio and Claire Danes. I know, I really like that movie for some fucking reason. And and you got like Dina Meyer from Starship Troopers, if you don't know who Dina Meyer is. Yeah, so Pete Postlethwaite plays like the comedy relief in the movie, which there's a lot of physical jokes in the movie. There's like little jokes here and there. I wouldn't say any jokes made me laugh, except for there was one where Dennis Quaid. I should mention Dennis Quaid, Bowen meets up, tries to slay the dragon Draco, but not knowing that the dragon Draco is the dragon that he wanted to kill for the longest time. They have this fight where there's a huge standoff, where the only time you see a practical effect with the dragon is when like Dennis Quaid is in the dragon's mouth and he has like a sword like sticking up the roof of his mouth. That's where they have the standoff, because he's friends thrust the sword into the dragon's brain through the mouth. The mouth at that point is like a practical effect, where like the rest of the dragon's CGI. That's the only time you kind of see a practical effect with the dragon. During that standoff, they make a deal where like because Draco is the last dragon, he doesn't want to die yet, so he makes a deal with Bowen, where like they'll go around villages and have a pretend fight where Bowen kills the dragon at the end, and then they can collect the award. What ends up happening is they eventually meet Kara, and Kara convinces them to rise against King Einon, and that's basically the story. I should mention that the dragon obviously talks because it's voiced by Sean Connery. People might be like, not a fan of talking dragons, but if you're if you know any, like if you're a fan of fantasy, then there's several like movies and not movies, book series and stuff like that where they have talking dragons. Like Lord of the Rings has, well, not Lord of the Rings specifically, The Hobbit. There's a talking dragon in that. There's talking dragons in D&D. There's talking dragons in the Witcher series. If you ever played the Witcher series, I don't know. That's the thing. I never got that far in the books to find out if there's talking dragons in the. Sorry, I just burped. If there was talking dragons in the book series, because I kind of stopped after the third book because I got triggered during a scene that happened in the third book, which is called, I think the third book is what, The Blood of Elves? I can't remember. I know it's like there's The Last Wish, and I can't remember. Actually, I think The Blood of Elves was the second book. I don't know, like the Witcher series, when it was just the first book is great, but after that it turns into like this, huge, like trying to become a huge epic where you have this like I don't know, it just sucks, dude. Like they turned the little girl into a lesbian, and I didn't like that. Sorry about that. Yeah, like it was, that scene in that fucking book was fucking gross, dude. Like fuck that. Like the fucking Andrei Sapkowski's a fucking pervert, if you ask me. Like a chick like saves the one girl, Siri, from not maybe raped, possibly seduced, not exactly sure. Only to sexually assault her. And like it turns Siri into a lesbian, which is like, what the fuck? And she was like 14 at the time, and it gets into graphic detail, which is like, this is my problem with like fantasy books where you have these like fucking degenerates write that kind of shit, and then their justification was like, oh, people had sex when they were young and back then, because you know the legal marrying age was 13 or whatever. It's like, shut the fuck up, retard. And then you say that while writing a gay sex scene. It's like, you're a fucking idiot, dude. But yeah, this is I don't know, this movie, I wasn't a huge fan of the movie. Then again, I'm not really a huge fan of family movies, which is why I went on to my winter rant. I don't fucking know. If I were to give this a rating, it has like a 6.5 on like IMDb, which I would say, honestly, I would probably say it's at least a 6. I wanted to give it I wanted to give it like a 5 out of 10, but it's like, I would say there's enough shit here where I would probably like this movie as a kid, though I was not a fan of the like not the practical effects, the like, you know, costumes, and the fact that, you know, there's no plate armor at all in the movie, which I like. The knights, the most armor you see like a knight wear is like chainmail, which is like the basic shit. This, besides from the armor that the main character is wearing, which is most of the time it's like studded leather armor, which studded leather armor can look kind of cool, but at the same time, it's like, you're a fucking knight, you can't afford, like, I know like plate mail is not exactly the most practical fucking armor, and when you're going up against dragons, that's probably not the best armor to wear. But still, dude, like, why are the fucking knights not wearing, like, how is there no knights wearing plate armor? It's the only thing I can think of is, well, this takes place during the the 9th century, so their plate armor might not have been a thing. Oh yeah, plate armor wasn't a thing in the 10th century. That's more like 12th and 13th century. So my bad. That's why there's no plate armor. All right. Peace. I'll be reviewing tomorrow. What will I be reviewing tomorrow? We reviewed a comic book. What did we review last time? Yeah, we reviewed the Hedge Knight. So I'll review a manga tomorrow. I'll review Guin Saga Volume 1, The 7 Magi. Alright, peace.